Have you ever wanted to go on a heartfelt journey in the lives of your loved ones and newfound acquaintances? Do you enjoy listening and engaging in uplifting discussions that leave you motivated and inspired to take action in your own life? This podcast is a space where we have in-depth conversations on family, health, spirituality, entrepreneurship, and well, just plain old life. I'm Jesse DeLeon, and this is my passion. Join me on a walk into the fascinating narratives and meaningful conversations that shape our experiences. Welcome to The Knowing, a Life in Stories podcast. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Jesse DeLeon with The Knowing, a Life in Stories podcast. Well, Thanksgiving is in less than 2 weeks away. Wow. Where'd the time go and how are we here at this point in the year? It's just a lot of things have been happening and just time goes by. I was out at dinner with a friend and her husband, and we were waiting for our table, and she sat next to this gentleman, his son, and his grandson. And she sat next to him and she looked up at me and her husband and she said, "How did we get here? How are we at the age that we are in our life right now?" And it's just time just passes by really quickly. And I wanted to have this episode be about being thankful and to remember what we're grateful for. And in the midst of everything that has happened this year and good and bad, it's really important to try to focus on the things that we're thankful for, things that we're grateful for. And that's really what this holiday is about. And I want to say that, first of all, I'm thankful to God, to the Holy Spirit, to Jesus, to our life, right? To you, all for listening and tuning in. I'm thankful for my family, my friends, for Jeff and Darren, who are my co-producers in the podcast. And I'm thankful for the people that I work with. And, when I started to work at this new salon space, I hadn't worked in a salon space that wasn't my own for many years. And I was a little bit prideful, and I was a little bit feeling, a little sorry for myself, feeling a little shame, and that I didn't have my own salon. I wasn't going to have my own salon on Magazine Street. I was going to be a few streets over on Chapatula Street. And I just wasn't feeling very grateful. I was in my mind a lot, and my mind was telling me why I shouldn't be happy about this move. Well, I can tell you this. I'm very thankful. I am so grateful to be with these amazing, creative, artistic, stylists who inspire me, who move me, who motivate me. They just greeted me with open arms, and I'm so thankful for that, for them. And I'm grateful for my family and my friends, my clients, my business. I'm so thankful for this podcast. I just can't tell you how important this was for me to have this podcast happen, and it happened. And I just finally, I just had to have my mind tell my brain that this is possible, and it was going to happen. And it did happen. And I want to remind you all and ask you all, what are you thankful for? What are you grateful for? And I want to remind you to be grateful, to be thankful, to be over the moon about how thankful you are, because it doesn't matter where we are in our life. We could have had a dream for ourselves 30 years ago, and it's just now happening. It's just now coming to fruition. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on the aspirations that you have for yourself. And I believe that a big part of that is reminding ourselves of what we're grateful for. About 2 months ago, I started taking notes and actually I picked up my journal again, and journaling has always been intimidating for me, but I stopped telling myself that. I just told myself, I'm going to start writing one phrase, a note, a quote, a one word, a sentence, two sentences, whatever was coming to my thoughts in my mind. I wanted to start jotting them down. And I didn't even think about it as journaling. I just started jotting them down. And, in the morning when I wake up, my ritual is to get out of bed, pour my glass of water, pour my baking soda in the water and my, apple cider vinegar as a form of probiotics to get my morning started. And I switch on the coffee pot, and then I go and sit and I meditate, and I I pray, and then I have my notepad with me, and I just jot my thoughts down. And it really makes a difference. It really is a great way to start the day. And so while my coffee's brewing, I'm doing all of this for myself, right? Spending time on me. And I'm looking out of my window. I have these great big windows, and I can see the sky in the morning. And I'm just reminded of how precious and how beautiful life is. And yes, there are things that are out of our control, that are happening in the world. And, so it's so easy to get in that mindset and join that community of people that tend to focus on that which is happening that's not good for us, or the political crises, or the high cost of food, or how expensive everything is. It's so easy to get caught up in that because it's real, right? It's happening, and we should be able to identify that, but let's not stay there too long, right? Let's say it, let's vent, let's call our go-to people that we can share that with, and then let's move from that quickly, because it isn't going to help us to sit back and focus on those things, but rather let's focus on the things that we're grateful for, the things that we're so thankful for. I'm so thankful. A few more things that I want to share. I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful that I have wonderful eyesight. I'm thankful that I can hear. I'm thankful that I can hear well. I'm thankful for my friendship with my priest and the friends I've made in the church. The past 3 years has been a great journey for me on I call it my journey to the altar. I mean, that's been happening for a really long time. And it seemed that every time I had a moment in my life that I thought of or looked at as a setback turned out to be something that propelled me forward more, with excitement, with that led to joy, experiencing true joy. And it brought me in my relationship closer to God. I began to lean more on the Lord. And the more I did that, the more confident I became in the things that I do daily. It's not to say that I don't have my moments of sadness or loneliness or even depression. I think that I go from bouts of having that a very mild case of chronic depression or sadness, and I think we all can share and attest to that. We might all feel some form of depression or sadness or loneliness in our life, but I've learned to identify it, to acknowledge it, and to say it and call it out so that I can leave it behind me and move on. The other day, a friend of mine, actually a couple of months ago, he went on a trip to Europe for 3 weeks almost 3 weeks. And I just remember feeling so joyful for him and so excited that he was going on this trip. And then I start getting in my headspace, and my mind started telling me, well, how come he can do it and why can't I do it? And gosh, how can he do it? Go away for 3 weeks. That's talk about expensive. I'm sure that was expensive, but you know what? That was something that I know that he saved for and put money aside for that. But I couldn't help but feel what I was feeling. And what I was feeling was a little bit jealous, a little bit envious, a little bit insecure. And, and I realized that that wasn't how I really felt. It was what my mind was telling my brain to feel, right? And those are two different things, the mind versus the brain. And so as easily as we can say something that's negative or complain about something, we can easily put something positive in our mind so that we share that with our brain. And so I just called it out loud. I just said, hey, I'm feeling insecure, I'm feeling jealous, I'm feeling envious, I'm feeling sad for myself. And I haven't traveled, to Europe in a long time. And then I realized I could do that. I just choose not to do that. I am so in this place of joy and happiness in my home, in my city of New Orleans. I never really loved every aspect of New Orleans. Who would, right? But I never really appreciated New Orleans the way I do now. It took me going away for many years and coming back to finally really appreciate all that we have here in New Orleans. It's such a beautiful, uh, traditional, joyful city, lots to do here. And a lot of things that I didn't appreciate, I'm starting to appreciate now about the city. And I'm enjoying my home more. And I thought, I wonder why I'm enjoying my home more. Well, because I finally paid it off a couple of years ago. And it just brings me this sense of, wow, this is mine. So I'm so grateful for my home. I'm grateful for the books that I've collected over time and the new friendships that I'm making here. I'm just joyful. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because I want to remind you to think about the things that make you joyful. Think about the things that you're grateful for and write them down. It makes a difference when you see something on black and white versus just words in the air. Those disappear, right? We may or may not remember them. But the whole purpose for keeping a journal is so that we can remember them, so that we can look back in time and be able to be reminded of what we felt like a day ago, a month ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago. And I just want to make a commitment to myself to continue to do that, because it really does help to lift your self-esteem and to feel uh, accomplished, right? And accomplishment doesn't just mean wealth and power and position. Accomplishment is the daily things that we do, the small things that we do that lead to the bigger picture, right? I was watching it's more of a documentary series of Moses. And you think about all that what was taken away from him as an infant, then what was given to him, uh, in terms of prestige, wealth, power. He became the son to the Pharaoh, right? And then, he's off to the wilderness for all the time that he was out in the wilderness. And he was angry for the most part of his life, right? But he kept doing good things. He kept doing what God was asking him to do. And yet he still found that he would question the Lord and doubt the Lord. And then when he brought all the slaves out of Egypt, and, they were scared, they were excited. And many of them didn't want to go because they still feared the Pharaoh, and they were like wondering, what's going to happen to us? Where are we going? What is this promised land? And they have to go on trust and faith and a belief that they were going to be okay. But even throughout all the miracles that they saw, anytime they hit a moment of hardship, it was all that joy and all the miracles they'd seen, it just disappeared, it evaporated. But that is we in our humanity. We can be joyful one minute and grateful, and then the next minute something bad happens and we think the sky is coming down on us. But hardships are only there for a moment. Maybe they're a long moment, but it's a moment in time, and they're there to remind us of who we are, what we're capable of, and to trust, right? It's to help us to go closer to our faith. I want to share a text message that I received from my ex-partner. You know, a lot of times when we go through a breakup, a divorce, it's really, really hard. It's really sad. It's, you know, we can even be angry about that person or with that person. What I am reminded of daily when Kevin and I broke up, it was really sad, and there was anger, and we didn't really communicate for about a year. And then over time, you know, in that time, I was praying a lot, journaling a lot, and reflecting a lot. And then after the year or two, I was able to start reflecting on all the good things that happened in that relationship and all that I had learned, all the ways that I had grown is in myself, and began to understand me more and know more of what I was capable of. And, you know, coming from a place of having been sad and angry, I started to enter a place of joy and happiness. Well, about 2 months ago, Kevin sent me a text message for my birthday, and it was a beautiful message. And I want to share it with you because I want to remind you all, when we enter a relationship with someone, you know, that feeling of joy and euphoria, that we're just so in this state of joy and happiness, and we're so grateful that the Lord brought them into our lives. And then we run into hard times, and then we don't feel that way anymore. The honeymoon's over. Well, I just want to remind you, we have to remember those times, because it's all of that journey, all of that experience with that person that makes us who we are today, right? And we can choose to live in a state of anger and holding a grudge, or we can choose to look back and look at what we learned, what that person taught us about ourselves. And I want to share a text message that Kevin sent me, because I am so grateful for Kevin. I'm so grateful for our friendship. I'm so grateful that he's in my life, and I learned so much from him, and I took so much away from that relationship, and we're great friends now. And I'm just going to share this. He says, I'm on call this weekend, so I wanted to say early, in case I forget, happy birthday, my friend. You made a big impact on my life. You are a great man. Love you. I don't think that Kevin's going to be upset that I shared this with you, but it really touched my heart and my spirit. And when he said, I love you at the end of the text, you know, those words coming after being apart for 7 years now, almost 7 years, that touched my heart, because those words weren't easy to come by after we broke up. Even though we felt love for each other, there was pain there, and we might not have said that in a letter or in a text. But to be able to say that now, for he to be able to text that to me, I am just so overcome with joy, with gratitude, with thankfulness. I share that with you, not because, you know, I want to allow all my personal thoughts and experiences to be shared on the podcast. I'm learning to be more open, more transparent, more comfortable, because you have helped me to feel that way. You have given me your love and your prayers and your support, and I am thankful for that too. So in this year, Thanksgiving of 2025, I just want to be the person or one of the people in your lives who reminds you of all that we have to be grateful for and all that you are thankful for. So I hope this touches a special part in your heart, and that you can maybe share this episode with someone, maybe someone you haven't talked to in a long while, someone you haven't said I love you to in a long while, someone you haven't called in a long while, and just let them know that you're thankful for them and that you wish them joy, and that they have peace and love in their lives this Thanksgiving. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye until next time. I'm going to pray for you. Please continue to pray for me. Thank you so much.